Hello viewers, Super GT here, and no, this isn't some prank. This is actual iRacing content, and it is finally back after, well, I just checked. My last video was August 2017. That was my last video on iRacing. My ratings have taken a big dip. I'm only Class C, not very high at all, and it's about time I got back into it. We're going to upload a new profile picture. That'll do. That'll do quite nicely actually. Let's set the tone for our iRacing comeback. Let's get things underway with the Mazda MX-5. Normally the go-to championship when you first start the game. And to kick things off, we have a stop code penalty for speeding in the pit lane about 2 seconds into our comeback. But anyway, this is the Jefferson circuit at Summit Point. So it's like a weird little small track off the side of the main Summit Point raceway. And in normal iRacing fashion, 2 laps of qualifying. Let's have a look at the circuit. So of course, again, driving the Mazda MX-5, I thought it's the best thing to go back into after spending so long away from the game. Let's go back into the Mazdas. They're fairly easy to drive, they're very good to race, you can race them quite closely, and it's what I'm most familiar with, having driven them the most times before. So you can see for that first sector, it's a very tight circuit as we come out over this crest into sort of a medium speed left-hander here. Difficult corner to get right actually, but an important one as it leads out onto this back straight, and that leads into the final corner, which is actually very difficult, a long curved braking point here, so it's very difficult actually to really get the correct line. It's actually quite a difficult one to really gauge exactly how you should take it. And over the line we go at the end of our first qualifying lap, and that was a 55.1, which I'm very pleased about. And 1 lap later, or nearly a lap later, this is the end of the second lap. You see I'm slightly up with the delta just below the mirror. But unfortunately, I just run slightly wide, and the game is fairly harsh on that. And because I went off track, it doesn't count the lap. It was looking like it might have been a 54. I might have been able to scrape a 54, but a 55.1 was a good lap. I did about 20 laps of practice before this race, and I was feeling fairly confident actually with how I was going. So, a bit of chase cam here for those chase cam lovers, but of course, it's very simple. iRacing, we play in the cockpit view. I know I'll get a million comments. Why aren't you using chase cam? Or can you use this view? Can you use that view? It's all about the cockpit view. There is the qualifying order. It was very close indeed. 0.2 of a second between the top 5. Let's see how it goes then. Our first race back for many years in iRacing. Away we go from the line, and it was not a good launch at all. Too much wheel spin, and third place is going to get alongside me on the right hand side. There he is into turn 1, very sharp right hander. I'm going to go deep on the brakes, and the guy who was trying to overtake me actually went really conservative, braked way too early, and I could just sweep around the outside and keep second place. So now just really trying to get onto the back of the leader, make sure he doesn't get away from me, and just keep the pressure applied. So the main thing I'm really looking for in iRacing, especially now that I've just came back, I'm not really looking for outright speed. I think the main thing is just to be consistent and avoid the penalties, avoid getting the X mark in the top of the screen. So you run slightly wide, you get 1X, and if you make contact you get 4X, and you can only get 17 in these races before you get kicked out of the race. So you do have to be very careful with that, and it is a different approach compared to Gran Turismo, which I'm very much used to. On Gran Turismo, sometimes you can make door-to-door contact and nothing really happens, but you really have to avoid that at all costs on this game, or this sim. So there is a very different mindset, a very different approach, so you do have to change the way that you drive, for sure. You have to be a lot more calm and consistent and smooth on this game, and just really avoid mistakes. Mistakes really do punish you. You get punished from mistakes a lot more on this game compared to others. So you do have to be extremely careful, consistent, and that's the main thing that I'm aiming for, at least for now, and then we can build our speed later on. So it looks like lap 1 and 2 have gone fairly well. Managed to keep our second position, which is crucial, and also, of course, getting a good qualifying lap was also very important, just to make sure you are near the front. And it was very close in qualifying, 1 or 2 tenths, and I would have been in the mid-grid. 1 or 2 tenths slower, that is. So into turn 1, you see the pressure slowly being applied now to the guy ahead. 0.3 seconds behind, looking at the relative on the bottom left of the screen. You can see the time gaps between myself, the driver ahead, and then a couple behind. We are pulling away from the guys behind, 1.8, and by this point here, the end of lap number 4, crossing to begin lap number 5, 3 seconds ahead of third, and still definitely on the tail of the leader. He was quick in qualifying, of course, by putting it on pole position, but in the race we seem to be very evenly paced. In fact, I might be able to go quicker if I were to get ahead, but I would say that normally when you're the car ahead with someone right behind you, it is a little bit off-putting, and you're not always going to lap as quickly as you possibly can. So at this point here, really just trying to keep the pressure on. It's a 15-lap race, and we're only on lap 5, so there's no real rush to get it done. But we do want to ideally get it done as quick as you can, if possible. Then you can at least control the race from the front. For now, though, happy to sit here and just press for a mistake. It is a very difficult circuit to overtake on, very narrow, not a very wide track at all. But there are a couple of big braking points. Most notably, I'd say turn 1, probably the best place to go for a move, but nowhere near close enough, unless I wanted to go for a savage dive bomb, which is almost certainly not going to work, not from that far back. So we stick in for now. So for those wondering, my setup, I'm using the Fanatec CSL Elite with the P1 rim, the CSL Elite pedals with a load cell brake, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all you need to know. But although, if you want to know the whole setup, it's all in the description below. So go and take a look at that if you are interested in exactly what I am using. So, still on the tail of this guy as we come into the final corner of lap number 6. So a very close race. It's a very dicey affair as we get very close now. And this is as close as I have ever been, 0.2 seconds behind now. As we come up towards turn 1, he's not really going to go defensive. I'm going to look up the inside, send it down into first place, and get the job done into turn 1 very nicely. So he kind of went semi-defensive, but the space opened up, and I was always going to go for it. And I think he braked a little bit early, because it looked like I braked a lot later than him. I did, but he definitely braked it too early, as I kind of just met the apex quite easily without going deep. So into the lead of the race we go. Is it possible that Super GT can actually win a race? Hopefully I'm not going to be condemned to 6th place on iRacing as well. I'd rather just restrict that to Forza and Gran Turismo if possible. First place is hopefully going to be the new 6th place on iRacing. So through the final turn. Now the pressure very much switches around now as the driver behind begins to apply some of it. You're in first place, as Spotter says, as we're coming to turn 1. Now, doing enough qualifying laps is something I learned really from Gran Turismo. Just do a lot of qualifying laps or a lot of practice laps and really get into a groove of the circuit, understanding the car, understanding the track. And in this situation here, with someone right behind you, it becomes a lot easier once you've done that. And I made a mistake through that turn. I was a little bit, I don't know the right word, but I was making mistakes with my shifting as I'm using the shifter, my Fanatec shifter. I was just wondering which way is best to shift up by pushing the lever forward or back, and I experimented with both, but I prefer that shifting up is pull the shifter towards me and shift down is push it away from me. But sometimes I was still getting a little bit confused and forgetting which way was which. But out of the final turn, the exit was not great, as I'm going to have to go semi-defensive here into turn 1, as he did briefly get alongside, and it wasn't quite enough though to go for the move, so he still just about keep the position. And this is the good thing about being able to control the race from the front. Even if you do make a mistake, you can just defend your position and keep it. Whereas if you are in second and then you make a mistake, you just lose track of the leader, and then they have some free air and less pressure. so it's typically better to be in the lead, especially when you cross the finish line, which is the crucial moment of any race. So coming up to towards the final corner, for the 9th time, the race ticking along nicely, and it's a good length of the race, I think. Every race on iRacing is a proper event. You really do have to properly concentrate and really get yourself psyched up for it, practice, really get into it. It's not like most console games where you just kind of turn it on and it doesn't matter too much and then you just turn it off. It really is an event. Every race is a proper event, and you really do have to get into the right mindset and the right frame of mind before you really do start racing. And on this occasion it seems to be working very nicely as we move to lap number 14. So 2 laps to go. Can I keep the lead, or will I turn into a massive bottle job? So now the gap 0.7, which is about as good as it's been in this race so far. 0.6 now as we go over the crest. This is the difficult corner. This is one that's easy to get wrong, and that curve can throw you up quite horribly if you take it too much. You have to get on the throttle quite early, and it's quite a deceiving exit coming out of that corner, as it does actually run out quite wide. So 1 lap left to go. The tyres are beginning to wear out, lapping in the mid to high 55s. At the beginning of the race you can do low 55s, possibly a 54. Well, it depends how good you are. You can probably do 53s if you're an absolute alien, which I'm not. But for now, lapping consistently mid to high 55s, which I'm happy about. And again, we're looking for that consistency throughout the race. But the tyres are going off. You can feel the lack of grip through the corners as you turn in. It just doesn't quite turn in as quickly as you'd like. And then you lose traction on the exit of the corner a little bit earlier than you would earlier in the race. But with half a lap left to go, there is a chance that Super GT can actually do a good thing in winning a race for once. So coming up towards the final turn, just making sure we don't bottle it, thinking about our shifting. Are we going to get this right? So you have to shift down once early here and then wait for the second shift to go down into second gear. Coming through the final turn, you're going to put the pressure on. He's right in our mirror, but it is going to be a sensational victory as we cross the line to win our first race on our return. You won. Why did the others bother to show up? Well, it would be a bit boring if the others didn't show up and I just went round on my own. As we come into the pit lane, the crowd, you can see here, the mechanics just go absolutely ballistic. They absolutely love that sensational victory. Great stuff. So let's take another look at that, shall we? Coming through the final corner. He actually went really wide. Didn't really hit the apex at all. And that put him on the back foot. I was still quite a long way back. I mean, I was close to him. Went to the inside. And he braked really early. He just braked really early, basically. And just let me kind of go up the inside. So it was actually a fairly simple move. But you know what? I'll quite happily take a victory. Quite happily take the W. So here are the results. And iRacing going up by 92 points. Fairly good. C rating beating mostly D-rated drivers. But I'll take any victory. I'll take any victory. And to prove that it wasn't a fluke, we have to go again. We have to go for the second time to see if we can win 2 in a row. Now, the form was good. I had good practice. I had a good race. And there's no reason that we can't go any better here. First lap on this qualifying, 55.0. Second time across the line, 54.96. It's something I could have done in the first qualifying. Didn't quite manage it. But there we go, 54.96. Very close. Just getting pole position from Phil Munnelly. Okay, let's see if we can get a better start this time around. The first start, far too much wheel spin. Almost conceded second place. Hopefully we won't concede first place this time around. Off the line we go, good launch. And it's going to be good enough to keep the lead. I'm just going to defend the first corner. Keep it to the right hand side. Force it up on the long way round, which is almost impossible. It's almost impossible to go around the outside on a very long corner like that. And we get the job done. Okay, just ticking off the tick box for lap 1 from pole position. Good launch, done. Turn 1, survived. Can we survive the rest of the lap without getting sent to the realm? That is the idea. And just something I noticed as well. We had a clean race in the first race. No X's at all. Didn't run wide once. Didn't make any contact. Didn't lose control of the car. That is the kind of thing we are trying to achieve Most notably because this weekend I'm going to be driving with F4H. Of course, you may have watched the video about 4 weeks ago. I've joined F4H, an iRacing team, very big iRacing team, very good iRacing team, and we're going to be doing the Spa 24-hour together. It's going to be my first 24-hour race, and very much looking forward to it. So I've got a lot of work to do within a week, a lot of practice to get on with. But I think these races here kind of show that the consistency is there. Obviously, we have to extrapolate that out to over very long stints, which you'd be doing in a 24-hour race. Only, let's say, a 14-minute race here. But I'm no stranger to the endurances. We've done 13 hours on the Super Goliath Forza Horizon 4, and plenty of long race, 50 laps of Nürburgring twice, once on Forza, once on Gran Turismo, 8 hours apiece. So the endurance factor is something I'm fairly used to, but doing it on iRacing is a little bit new to me. So do look out for that on the channel. This weekend, iRacing 24-hour, my first big event on the game. Further into this race then, we had some backmarker potential issues. You never know what's going to happen. No ghosting on iRacing, of course. He moved over to the right-hand side, so he's going to get that warning that the leaders are coming through, and we both lose no time at all coming through there. So Phil's still on my tail as I go really deep here, kind of too deep I would say. He's gone through the final apex, and actually on the exit he goes way too deep over the grass, and that's obviously not the most ideal line, not one that I would recommend. And a lap later you see that gap just go flying up, so he was about a second behind, and then it went up by miles, and then he just kind of dropped out. He got sucked into the shadow realm, and the gap just stayed a nice constant roughly 3 seconds to the guy in second. And eventually a couple of laps later, at the end of lap 15, we come across the line to take a second victory. Wow. I might have to play this game a lot more because I'm actually having some mild success, although I'm probably just playing mostly noobs because my I rating is so bad. That probably explains it. But either way, good fun, enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Let me know your thoughts. And of course, again, do tune in this weekend to the 24-hour of Spa, which I will be taking part in. I'm very much looking forward to that. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts as always. And for those of you wondering, will this mean the end of Gran Turismo content? No, it won't. Do not worry at all. Plenty more Gran Turismo to come, and that is still going to be my main game. But let's end on that note. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you did enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, and I shall see you next time. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.